board vehicle. A very warm welcome to.
Should the cabin pressure become low and oxygen mask
ไอ้เบ๊บอกว่าขายเหมือนเดิม
To flight mode and Wi-Fi service is activated if you want to use the device in flight. Disconnect all electronic devices from the power.